Hello, CS fans. It's been a little while since I whacked on my OBS and decided to have a conversation about the state of the game. But after yesterday's changes to the map pool, I felt compelled to start recording and to just really run a few thoughts by you guys. And I'm also very curious to see what you have to say on this one yourself, because this is going to be a pretty divisive and polarizing change, I personally feel, which doesn't just affect the pro level play, but actually does affect your average Joe players that enjoy Premier. Now, obviously, unfortunately, there was no change in terms of the anti-cheat being updated or a big culling of the cheaters, so that is going to continue to be a problem, and in fact, it may even be an increased problem, as I'll talk about in a few moments' time. Now, there is a lot of other changes in this patch, but I'm mainly focusing on the map pool here. I think a lot of the changes actually are great. In fact, all of them except for the map change itself. And I'll link a video below in the description box of a really good video that Jackie did, where he has a quick 2-minute video summary of the changes and shows some of those in live action for you. So you can have a look at all of those. But as a short point, any left-handed enjoyers, congrats, you've had your wish, it's back. But this video is all about discussing the map pool change. So Dust 2 is back in the map pool, and that already was a head scratcher, a bit of a what moment for me personally reading that. And then I continued to read through the tweet and I found out the Overpass had been removed. I thought I was being trolled at first. I thought this was some kind of a joke. Some late April Fool's joke perhaps, but no, it is real. Overpass is out for Dust 2, and I cannot understand it. Now, I'm going to run some stats and some figures by you here and give you an idea of some of the maps that have been out and how long they've been out for. Train was removed exactly 3 years ago at this point, at the beginning of May 2021. Cache was removed back in March of 2019, more than 5 years ago, a map that a lot of people miss very sorely, as I do alongside Train. Cobblestone was removed in 2018, 6 years ago. Think of how many incredible moments and incredible matches we saw on that map back in the day. Some of these maps have been out for half a decade or longer, and this is the third time to my recollection that Dust 2 has been brought back into the map pool after being removed. And it's the same Dust 2 as last time. There was no reworks, no changes, no rehauls. It is the same map. This is such a miss as far as I'm concerned. But what really exacerbates the problem is if Dust 2 came back and Mirage was removed, I'd actually have very few problems with it. I'd be like, okay, fair enough. But the fact it's Overpass is mind-boggling. I feel like Overpass is a map that most people, at bare minimum, think is pretty solid. And then people like me, it's one of my favourite maps in the pool, if not my favourite to play, to cast, to watch. Who wanted Overpass to be gone, other than maybe some of the pro players? But the pro players are only a small, tiny fraction of the overall player base. But one consistent throughout has been Mirage. In all of those maps I just highlighted, Train, Cache, Cobblestone, being removed 6 years ago in Cobblestone's case, Mirage has been here, and it has been here for the most part untouched. It plays almost identically to how it did back then in terms of lack of changes. You've had the change to the bench, allowing you to self-boost into the window, some changes over on the B side, but for the most part, the map is unchanged. It even looks similar to the old school maps in that regard too. Now, I don't know if a rework is coming for Mirage, maybe a complete overhaul of how it looks, spruce it up a little bit. I don't know if maybe some changes come into Dust 2 as well, and this is more of the first step. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. But this change for me is really, really poor. And it doesn't make me excited at all about the map pool. I'm thinking of, like, imagine Dust 2, Mirage, and Inferno as a best of 3. Like, what is this? Is it 2015, 2016? Now, I mentioned Inferno in sort of the lead up to this. because Inferno for me is another classic map. I personally don't mind it that much, but I see a lot of people complaining, and I understand their complaints. It feels like a claustrophobic waiting for smoke simulator a lot of the time. On the T side, you get locked down from obviously the rework smokes, completely blocking out banana, completely blocking out mid, and the Ts are just waiting at the bottom of T steps for the smoke to clear so they can finally push with 10 or 15 seconds left. And if they want to try and gamble and push through the smokes, they're going to run into a bunch of bullets and a bunch of grenades, and then they're going to be walking into choke point bottleneck crossfires where they get mowed down. Rinse and repeat until the end of the map. But if the Ts are successful, if the CTs make a mistake, or maybe the Ts just have that hyper-aggressive spawn, they make the most of it, and they get a plant down, the CTs more than likely are going to go ahead and just save immediately, because of the same reasons it's difficult for the Ts to get onto sites, it's hard for the CTs to retake sites. So these Inferno games turn into, like, every second of every round, unless you get a really aggressive T side, which is few and far between, and then if they're successful, it's a save. A lot of gamble stacking into saves in half-buy rounds with saving, you know, an M4 or 2 or an AWP. And it becomes a little bit slow-paced. It becomes a little bit stale to watch. Now, personally, I wouldn't have removed Inferno because it's not getting a lot of play in best of ones, but it is getting played in best of threes as deciders. And there is a certain level of tension that comes with that. There is also a feeling of nostalgia and that classic feel of Counter-Strike when it comes to those kind of moments. I think Mirage is much more of a problem. Now, the other component of this conversation, because I think everyone is in agreement that Nuke is perfectly fine as it is, Anubis is rock solid, Ancient is really good. Although I have seen some people complain about Ancient, but I think they're in the minority, is Vertigo. This is another map that's always brought up in the conversation, in the debate. Now, I've been pretty much an enjoyer of Vertigo since day one, since this current iteration was brought out. The previous ones were rough. There's no getting around from that one. But I have been someone that's definitely enjoyed Vertigo. I think it's interesting. I think it's unique. It has a different flavor to it. It looks different. The color palette's different. That's another thing about Mirage and Dust 2 being in the pool at the same time. My God, the browns and gray color palette is going to be on display for sure. That's not necessarily the most exciting thing to watch. It's a bit of an eyesore after a while. But Vertigo was very different. It played a different way. Aggression on both sides. I've never had an issue with it personally. So what do you guys think about this? Because I honestly, I'm very underwhelmed by the prospect of this next map pool coming into the next major. I do hope deep down that there's going to be some changes to Mirage, even if it's just an updated palette scheme, like color scheme. Spruced up a little bit. Maybe Dust 2 gets some changes between now and the major. That's what I hope. But I don't really expect it, if I'm being honest with you. So this is a bit of an underwhelming change. Comment below, let me know your thoughts. Am I in the minority? Do you agree or do you disagree with me? Would you have taken Dust 2 and brought it back into the map pool? Would you have removed Overpass? Give me some counters. See you in the next video.